Good morning. How many of you have a favorite verse? How many people have a favorite verse? Not very many hands. How many people have read the Bible? Question here. All right. So when I was a young man growing up in church, and my father was a church planter, we spent a lot of time in churches, everybody was always on me about having a favorite verse. So when they'd ask me, I'd say my favorite verse is Leviticus 13:9, which are the instructions for presenting yourself to a priest to see if you have leprosy. So I didn't like to be pushed a whole lot. But eventually there was a couple of verses, and they're not uncommon verses, nothing amazing that I found hidden, but just those simple verses in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding in all your ways. Acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. So to start with, to share with you a little bit today, this really is a missions presentation. As your missionaries, domestic missionaries working in the United States, I thought I'd share with you a little bit about our mission this morning and how we trusted in the Lord and ended up here, okay? And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, okay? So the mission that Cindy and I work for is used to be known as the American Missionary Fellowship. Now it's known as In Faith. A lot of missions went through a kind of a restructure where they wanted a one-word name, and so Campus Crusade for Christ became the Crew, and our mission followed suit, and I lost 500 business cards I just bought. I mean, they could have given me a little heads up, but. So working within faith, there's two great things that our mission does. One is it helps people sort out the call they have for ministry to help them decide, is this really something God's doing? And then to help them take that call and to put it in a place where there's a spiritual need that they can really meet. And the other thing is that we're very good at finding places in the United States where there is no Word of God. And so we work on those places. Sometimes that could mean doing senior ministry in nursing homes. It could be doing kids clubs and things like that. It could be camp ministry. It could be church planting. But always with the idea of where has the church not quite got yet that we maybe can blaze a little trail as they get there. So after 12 years in pastoral ministry, Cindy and I, when we were in Montana, joined the mission. The same mission my mom and dad worked for, which I said I would never join, just because my mom and dad's what my mom and dad did. But God did lead us to that, and we were area missionaries, which means we had a little section in Montana that we worked in, and we did, our specialty is youth and children's ministry and camping ministry. It's just that we've done that for a long time. And after about, I was trying to figure out how many years, so we were in Montana. It's about 10 years there within faith that something really interesting happened. And it started with Easter. And I want to show you a picture of our family Easter of 2008. So getting popped up there. That was the whole group. And Thomas was not married to Christine yet. He had just come out to visit at Easter. So things happened. We got a phone call, and they asked us if we would become regional directors, which means we would pastor the missionaries in a 7-state area around the state of Illinois. And so we had to find a place to move to in Illinois after I picked Cindy up off the floor and said, yes, we're moving to Illinois. We'd been in Montana for 15 years. We raised our children there. So we decided that we would do that, but I had to tell them, I said, I want you to know that I've already booked camps all summer. I can work long distance with the missionaries, but we can't move until the end of the summer because we had a special event at the end of the summer, Christine and Thomas's wedding. They were going to get married in August, and then we were going to move out. But we had a lot of things to do, obviously, to get ready. We had to come out. We came out in April. And one thing we were really looking to find is it was a church for us to live in, and of course a house and all those things, but it was more important that we find a church. And so we had been searching the internet, and Mount Morris Evangelical Free Church had an internet page, had a website. And it looked very exciting. We were looking for something for our kids because we figured we can put up with a lot of stuff. But we want a place where especially our son Sam, who is our last one still in school, could enjoy and be part of a youth group. So we were very excited, and we stopped briefly to visit the church. And no one was here. There wasn't anyone here. They were across the street in the gym. Took us about a few minutes to figure that out. We were glad there was a sign they were in the gym, but we didn't know where the gym was. So we wandered the square. We got in about 15 minutes late, so we couldn't greet anyone, and the only place to sit was way up in those bleachers. All the chairs on the floor were full, so we climbed to the top of the bleachers, risking nosebleeds and everything. And we enjoyed the service. And after it was over, we found out the pastor had left. He'd gone to Africa. The associate pastor was filling in, and people were filling in all sorts of places. It was like our sabbatical situation kind of every week. And so we were going, well, we'll see what happens. And we went back home. We put a offer on a house that was accepted, and then we did our summer ministry. In July, we had 2 weeks off, and we moved all of our stuff to Illinois. We put it all in a storage unit in Byron, and we drove back home to Montana, where we were sleeping on the floor in our empty house in sleeping bags, in our camping gear we traveled with. And then we had the wedding, as you saw, the wonderful wedding picture. And the very next day, we loaded the truck and left. I did not do the wedding. I didn't want to do my daughter's wedding. We were all part of it, though, and we planned it and put it together. But we left the next day and had a farewell with our church that afternoon. So we took off. Now, next slide. Not everybody was happy about the move. Sam had just finished 8th grade. He'd been with the same kids for almost 8 years. So it was like, Sam, we found this really cool church. I hope you like it. It's going to be good. So we did make it out here. I'll see that next slide. And we manly started moving stuff from the house we didn't end up living in, from the place. So we became the regional directors of American Missionary Fellowship in the North Central region of the United States. And for 2 years we did that job. And after that, my boss had an idea, and he wanted to establish a new program where we'd have ministry directors for specific areas of ministry. And then I became the national director of children's ministry and summer missions for In Faith that I am until this day. 2 years ago, we quit being the summer missionary directors because I was able to automate the whole system, and they didn't need me, and that's great. It meant hours and hours of paperwork for Cindy. So a lot of years under the bridge, a lot of time here, trusting in the Lord with all our heart, leaning on his understanding and not ours, following him in all the paths he's led. And that's how we get here. Now, something strange happened. There was an expansion that occurred. So remember that first picture? Boom. Yeah, so we added a few people, and they immediately ran away from Illinois. I don't know what happened. They moved away. But that's not why we're moving from Illinois. Probably the major reason we're moving from Illinois is that we have actually not lived by our family for 25 years. So we have aging parents. We still have siblings. And we really want to spend some time with them. So that's been probably the big force behind the move. My job, because I work for the national office, I can do that anywhere. But Cindy also has a profession that she enjoys. She enjoys 2 professions, and I'm going to let her tell you just really briefly about what she'll be doing when we move to the state of Oregon in a couple weeks.
Many of you know the story, and so I'll just tell you again, it's such a huge answer to prayer. When we decided to move in April, it was kind of too early to tell my bosses at the library I was leaving, but it was also kind of early to start looking for work when I knew that I couldn't be there until after summer reading program ran its course at the library. And so I just started praying that God would give me the right time. And about 2 weeks ago, that's probably been 3 weeks ago, yeah. I was sitting at night, about 8 o'clock at night, which is in Oregon time is 2 hours earlier there. And I thought, I might as well put my resume up on Indeed. That'd be okay. I'll just throw it out there and God will, it's like putting fishing. And I threw it out there and I put my resume up, and about an hour later I got a message from someone who saw my resume on Indeed and wondered if I could interview the next morning. And I went, okay. It was for a job at a Nazarene church in Lincoln City, Oregon, which is about 45 minutes north of Christine and Thomas on the Oregon coast. And I thought, well, that was fast, and I wasn't sure I was ready. But I said, sure, we'll interview. I interviewed on Tuesday, and on Wednesday they offered me the position if I wanted it. And so I came home, and I thought that the interview went really well, but here's the job, because this is what is such a God thing. It's called Little Lighthouse Preschool, and it's a teaching position there. I work Monday through Thursday mornings until 12:30, and I only work during the school year, but I'm salaried for the whole year. And there are two answers to prayer in that. Number one, I am going to have my mother-in-law living with us, and she's going to need someone to drive her. She cannot drive anymore. And so I need to be available for her, and I need to be available to help Andrew find his place and get settled there too. And so that was all well and good, but the other thing is that I've been praying for a long time is that I would have the ability to travel with Brett again and be able to work with him again in a teaching capacity when we go to do trainings. And that has been a struggle the past 4 years that I've worked at the library. And so God has opened that up. I will not work on weekends or Fridays, and I won't work during the summer. And I still get paid. So I start work on September 3rd, which means I need to leave at least 5 days ahead because I have to set up a classroom for a bunch of kids that are coming in. And so that is part of our prayer, is that we would be able to move at the same time, that I would not have to go out ahead of time and stay with Christine and work while Brett is back here trying to pack and get our house ready. But right now, we don't have a place to live in Lincoln City. So that's a huge prayer request, that we would find a temporary place to live, that we would be able to afford, so that we could get Brett's mom out of where she is and settled with us. That's all I got.
I need to find a job like that. How many people like to just dump here? So that is a huge prayer request. The details of moving, everybody here knows, right? I mean, it's never an easy thing to do, but it's been going pretty good, and we certainly thank everybody who's helped us at different times with all sorts of little projects. It's been wonderful to have your help. I can't thank each of you individually because I'd bawl like a baby, so.
We're not doing that.
Because I'm that tough guy. We decided we wouldn't do that today. But we look forward to being able to say goodbye for the next 2.5 weeks, okay? We're going to be here next week. I'm going to lead worship for Logan, and then the next week we all get to be at family camp. I hope you all come. That'd be a great place to visit and hang out together. But we do greatly thank the church for the support of our ministry. Our ministry is not changing at all. Our geographic position is changing, but we're still serving God as we try to educate and equip and encourage those people who work with teens and children around the United States. So thank you very much for being our supporting church. I actually put up a missionary display. I've never done that here at the church. It's got some information about our mission and about our summer program. And so you teenagers who miss Chris and Thomas, In Faith has a summer missions program, and you could actually sign up to travel with them and serve in the state of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, where they do camps all summer. So it might be something fun to think about sometimes. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate being here. And we're going to miss you.